The Olympics usually brings the world together, even through crises. However, the Russian side of the Olympics has been banned with the most recent Russian attacks on Ukraine. This means that players are not allowed to compete in sports, but which ones are banned and for how long? Stay tuned as we discuss how Russian Olympic athletes remain banned and the history of banned countries. First up, hockey. In February, the International Ice Hockey Federation announced that it was banning Russia and Belarus from any international competitions until further notice. This meant that both of these countries would be kicked out of the Men's World Championships in Finland last May, and that Russia was booted from the Women's Worlds in late summer in Denmark, while Belarus did not qualify in the first place. The IIHF also stripped Russia of any hosting rights they had for the upcoming Men's World Junior Championship, which is now slated for Halifax and Moncton, NB. They were also banned from the 2023 Men's World Championships, which have been moved to Finland and Latvia on the grounds of safety concerns for the public and the athletes. Any appeal Belarus and Russia have put out has been rejected, with the latest one in July by the disciplinary board. The countries are also considering taking this case to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, as they feel they're being held back for no reason. There has also never been a serious explanation binding any Belarusians or Russians, arguing that their players in the league represent their club and not their country. And overall, Russian ban would remove so many superstar skaters from the ring, such as Alex Ovechkin, Nikita Kucherov, Artemy Panarin, Kirill Kaprizov, Evgeny Malkin, and goalies Igor Shesterkin and Andrei Vasilevsky. Curling. In the wake of the invasion of Ukraine, the World Curling Federation decided to ban both Belarus and Russia, resulting in the former's removal from 6 World Championships last year. This included all the men's mixed doubles and women's championships. This heavily affected the 2021 Women's World Championship runner-up Alina Kovaleva, as her team was taken out of the Grand Slam of Curling Plays Championships in April last year. Last month alone, the WCF board voted to extend its ban on Belarus and Russia through the end of the next calendar year. There are currently no Belarusians or Russians involved in the Grand Slam of the curling season of 2022 and 2023. Figure skating. The next sport to cover is figure skating, as there is probably no other sport feeling this impact stronger than figure skating. The figure skating community will be already reeling from the doping scandal involving Russian women and their gold medalist favorite Kamila Valieva at the Beijing Winter Olympics. Her country invaded Ukraine a few days after the closing ceremony, prompting the Russian and Belarusian athletes to be banned from the International Skating Union. This caused them to miss the World Championships in late March and badly depleted the overall competition of the event. At the time, the Russians held the world title in 3 of the 4 disciplines and won exactly half of all the medals at the 2021 World Championships. In June, the ISU decided to extend its ban from Belarus and Russia and not hold any international competitions in those countries until further notice. As we all know, Russia is traditionally there to host one of the 6 regular stops at the Grand Prix circuit, so this year it was moved to Finland instead. Meanwhile, Russia is still staging its form of the Grand Prix with a Shadow Grand Prix, which began in Moscow alongside the real Grand Prix opener near Boston. Valieva went on to win that women's event. Other sports. Many other sports have had indefinite ban by the ISU because of Russia and Belarus, which applies to short and long track speed skating, but in the last Winter Olympics, Russians collected a combined 2 silvers and 2 bronzes when they competed under the Russian Olympic Committee banner as part of their punishment from the IOC for running a state-sponsored doping scheme for their athletes. Skiing and snowboarding have a world governing body, and they recently decided to maintain their ban on Belarusian and Russian athletes indefinitely, just like many other sports. The FIS has always seemed to be considering allowing Russian athletes and Belarusians to compete as neutral athletes, kind of like they did at the most recent Olympic Games, but ultimately chose to follow the IOC's current recommendation of keeping them completely banned outright. Nearly a third of all medals won by Russia in the 2022 Olympic Games came through cross-country skiing, where it led all of its teams to 11 medals. The ROC squad has also won 3 Olympic medals in freestyle skiing and 1 in ski jumping. Another part of the Olympics they have been most productive in is the biathlon, where the team collected 3 medals. Just a few months back, the world governing body then extended its ban on Russians and Belarusians until further notice, just like many other companies for the countries. Belarusian and Russian athletes also remain banned in the sliding sports of skeleton, luge, and bobsleigh. The world governing body fall luges achieved this by giving itself new powers hours after its arbitration court overturned its ban that took effect in March of last year. Through bobsleigh and skeleton, the prohibition on Belarusian and Russian hosting events means that Sochi is now going to avoid its regular stop on the World Cup circuit this season. What's next for Russia and Belarus? It is completely unclear when or how the bans will be lifted, as there is no end to the war in sight. As long as Vladimir Putin's army consistently kills Ukrainian soldiers and civilians while illegally occupying the territory, it's going to be difficult for any sort of international sports organization and all governing bodies to reopen their doors to either Belarusian athletes or Russian athletes. Even allowing them to compete as neutral athletes will risk a boycott or any other form of protest by rival countries. If and when the war does come to an end, this means that the governing bodies will be completely open to readmit Russians and Belarusians under the pretext that they will start healing the process of the world. But how long will it be until something like this lifts the ban? A year, a decade, or longer? Even then, will Russians and Belarusians be only allowed to compete as neutrals in the future? We don't know what will happen, but these governing bodies must figure it out. Please let us know in the comments section below your thoughts about all of this and your opinion on Russia's athletes being completely banned from every event. And now, onto the history of banned countries from the Olympics to wrap up today's video. Next up, countries banned from the Olympic Games. There have been many bans across the last 100 years of the Olympic Games, many of which would cause you to boycott as well as other circumstances. But did you know that there have been many instances where countries have been banned from attending in the first place? Many bans, such as the Russian athletes banned from the Rio Olympics and the sanctions at the Tokyo Olympics, are super recent examples, but these have happened before. Let's get into the timeline of countries that have been banned. In 1925, countries were banned from Olympic Games should their involvement in the First World War. This was in the Antwerp Olympic Games, and Austria, Turkey, Bulgaria, Germany, and Hungary were all during the Paris Olympic Games. The German ban during the Paris Olympic Games, slowing World War I, continued. However, Bulgaria, Turkey, Hungary, and Austria were all allowed to compete during that year. Jumping forward a bit, the 1948 London Olympics had Germany and Japan being barred due to the participation in the Second World War. The IOC banned another jump to 1964 during the Tokyo Olympics in South Africa for participating in its oppressive apartheid regime. This ban lasted until 1992, an insane amount of time for a ban. We then saw another ban 4 years later in 1968 for the Mexico Olympic Games, as the ban on South Africa due to their apartheid regime continued into that year. North Korea competed again in the games, which meant they were suspended from the IOC. This then caused the nation to miss the 1968 Olympic Games as well, and that's just a small number of bans we could cover in today's video, as there are more in the next 50 years. Please let us know in the comments section below if you want us to cover any more of these bans and go more in depth on what happened. Well, that's the end of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed the latest video. If you did, please let us know in the comments section below. It would be very helpful. Make sure to like the video, comment below, and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell rung. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Bye for now.